In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful brown sweater vest in a size small. It's worked from the bottom up and it requires very minimal sewing, so I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. Starting with the materials, you'll need around 250 grams of medium weight for acrylic yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, and some stitch markers. To start the bottom of the ribbing, we'll create a slip knot. Wrap a tail of yarn around 2 fingers and turn it over to create an X. Insert your crochet hook under the strand to the right and over to grab the left. Pull that underneath, remove your fingers, and pull up to tighten. Now we will chain the width of the ribbing. I want to do 9 chains for my width, so I will add 1 to that as the turning chain, which means I will chain 10. To start row 2, place a half double crochet in the second chain from our hook. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook in the chain next to our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops that are on the hook. Repeat this pattern of half double crochet in each stitch until the end of the row. To start row 2, chain 1 and turn your work. For every new row in this project, we'll chain 1 and turn. We're going to work in the back loops only. To find the back loop, you can look for the V at the top of the row. First, we'll yarn over, insert the crochet hook in the back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook, back loop only, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Repeat the pattern of back loop half double crochet until the end of the row. To start row 3, we're going to repeat the same thing that we did in row 2. So chain 1, turn your work, and do back loop half double crochet in each stitch until the end of the row. We're going to repeat row 2 until the bottom ribbing can fully wrap around our body. So for me, I did a total of 80 rows, and the number of rows you do should be divisible by 8. So this measures about 66 centimeters without stretching. To connect both ends of the ribbing, we're going to start by chaining 1 and turning our work as if we're starting a new row. Then we'll bring both ends together to meet without twisting. So you can see that I lined it up and it's straight. Insert your crochet hook into the top loops only, and this is the loop that is closest to you. Insert your crochet hook in one end and then into the loop on the other end. Then yarn over and slip stitch through both loops. We'll do the same thing in the next stitch. Insert into the top loop, And on the other side, we'll insert our hook into the top loop there. Yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. Repeat this pattern until both ends of the ribbing are fully stitched together. After your last slip stitch, we're going to rotate our work so that it's facing us horizontally. Now that we've connected both ends together, we can start the body of the sweater vest along the side of the ribbing. When working in the side of the ribbing, it can be kind of tricky to figure out what stitches to go into, but each of the ridges have a row to the right of it and a row to the left of it. And we're going to insert double crochets into those ridges and the 2 rows next to it. To start round 1 of the body, we'll chain 2. We'll insert a double crochet into the first ridge. I'll show you closely here. There won't be a perfect stitch to work into, but as long as you get your crochet hook somewhere along the top of that ridge, then you should be okay. So after yarning over, we'll pull up a loop, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. Pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Then we'll move on to the next row, and in this row we're going to insert a double crochet into the side. So we'll yarn over, insert the crochet hook into the side of the row, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. We'll repeat the same thing in the next row. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook into the side of that row, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I've done a total of 3 double crochets so far, and now we're at the next ridge, so we'll repeat the same thing that we've been doing. First, insert a double crochet into the ridge, after that, insert a double crochet into the row next to it. And lastly, insert a double crochet into the second row next to the one we just did. When we do this pattern, it should keep the ribbing very slightly stretched so that it doesn't flare out at the bottom or pull in a lot tighter than our body. Repeat placing 1 double crochet in the ridge, the 2 rows, and the ridge until you reach the end of the round. When you reach the end of the round, the stitch number should be 1.5 times the number of rows of the ribbing we made. So I did 80 rows and I have a total of 120 stitches in this round. If you did 88 rows, then you would have 132 stitches. At the end of the round, we'll skip the chain 2 we made in the beginning and slip stitch in that top stitch to close the round. So go ahead and count your stitches to ensure that the number is correct, and it should be 1.5 times the number of rows of ribbing that you did in the beginning. To start the next round, chain 2 and turn. Turning after every round will help keep the seam straight and keep it from slanting to the left. After chaining and turning our work, we're going to work a double crochet into every stitch in this round. When working a regular double crochet, we want to make sure we're picking up both loops. So for the first double crochet, we don't want to go into the slip stitch we just made, but into the stitch right next to it. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Repeat this pattern of 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the round. At the end of the round, the last double crochet should go into the same space that the chain 2 looks like it's coming out of. Insert a double crochet into that stitch. Then we'll skip the chain 2 that we made at the beginning of the round and insert our crochet hook into the stitch at the top and slip stitch to join the round. For round 2, we will chain 2, turn our work. We're going to repeat doing these rounds of double crochet stitches until we reach up to where we want the armholes to start. So I'm going to continue doing double crochets until I reach 18 rounds, but you can continue to add more or add less depending on how long you want the body of the sweater to be. One tip I have is to make sure to stop earlier than you think to leave extra space for the ribbing. I reached the end of round 18 and I'm going to slip stitch to join the round. Here's a preview of the body of my sweater. I did a total of 18 rounds and this measures about 22.5 to 23 centimeters long, including the ribbing. At this point, we're going to start decreasing the body inwards. To do this, we will work in rows instead of rounds. I'm going to mark the halfway point of the round. So I have a total of 120 stitches, so I counted up to the 60th stitch and I'm inserting the stitch marker in the stitch to the left of it. So we'll place a stitch marker next to the halfway point. For reference, I counted starting from the slip stitch that we made to join the last round. On the other side, the last stitch of the round is my 60th stitch. So I'll mark the one to the left of it with my stitch marker. Here's a reference of where I placed the stitch markers. This is the one on the left. And here's the one on the right. To start the front of the armholes, we'll chain 2. And we'll turn our work. Remember to always turn your work after chaining 2. To shape the armhole, we're going to double crochet the first 3 stitches together. So we'll start with a double crochet in the first stitch. So yarn over, insert the crochet hook, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2 loops, but don't finish the double crochet. You should have 2 loops on your hook. We'll yarn over again, insert the crochet hook into the second stitch, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2 loops, and now you should have 3 loops on your hook. We'll yarn over one more time, insert the crochet hook into the third stitch, pull through the first 2 loops, and you have 4 loops on your hook. So yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on the hook. And what we did is called a double crochet 3 together. After you do that, we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch until we reach 3 stitches before the stitch marker. So double crochet up until that point, and when you have 3 stitches left before the marker, we're going to do our 3 double crochet together. Once we have 3 stitches left, we'll do another double crochet 3 together. As we did in the beginning, we'll yarn over and pull up a loop, then pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over, insert into the second stitch, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over, insert the hook into the third stitch, pull through 2, and you should have 4 loops left on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. This will be the end of the first row. To start the next row, we will chain 2 and turn your work. For this row, we're going to repeat the same pattern that we did in the last row. So we'll do a double crochet 3 together over the first 3 stitches. Double crochet across until you reach the last 3 stitches before the stitch marker. Then double crochet 3 together at the end. At the end of the row, chain 2, turn, and repeat. You'll repeat this row until you bring the armholes in far enough before starting the neckline. So for my sweater vest, I'm going to do 1 more row of decreases before starting the front of the neckline. So like I said, I stopped after 3 rows and it goes up high enough where I want the neckline to start, so we can start to shape the V-neck part. To do this, we're going to count the number of stitches we have in our last row, and we're going to mark the middle of the front panel. So since my last round had 48 stitches, I'm going to divide it so each side of the V-neck has 24 stitches. So I'm counting all the way to the 24th stitch from the left. This is my 24th stitch from the left, so I'm going to mark this with a safety pin. I'll count 24 stitches from the right. I'll place my second safety pin in that 24th stitch. Splitting the panel into 2 halves will help us form the V-neck. To start the front of the neckline, we're going to continue decreasing at the armhole. First, I'm going to chain 2 where I ended and turn my work. After turning, I'm going to remove the safety pin that's on the right and start working our first row of the neckline. In the first 3 stitches near the armhole, we're going to double crochet 3 together. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through all 4 loops. Then do a double crochet in each stitch until there's 2 stitches left before the safety pin or stitch marker. When we reach the neckline, we're going to decrease over 2 stitches, so we'll do a double crochet 2 together instead of 3. So you should see 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. To start the next row, chain 2 and turn your work. Since we're starting our next row at the neckline area, we're going to double crochet 2 together to start. So yarn over, insert in the first stitch, pull through 2, insert in the next stitch, pull through 2, then pull through all 3 loops. And we'll double crochet until we have 3 stitches left before the end of the row. As you can see, we're going in the reverse direction now because we turned our work. I reached the last 3 stitches of the row and I'm going to double crochet all 3 of these together. We'll keep repeating the same row until the armhole space is big enough, so I will do one more row and then I'll stop decreasing on this side. Now the armhole has been brought in far enough and we can stop decreasing on the side with the armholes, and we're going to continue decreasing at the side with the V-neck. So for the next row, we're going to chain 2 and we'll turn our work. You'll start by double crocheting 2 together in the first 2 stitches. You'll work double crochets for the rest of the row, so when you reach the armhole area, be sure to do normal double crochets as we are no longer decreasing there. I'm at the end of the row near the armhole area and I'm inserting my last double crochet. And you can see that the armhole space is getting bigger and the neckline area is caving in more to become more of a V-neck shape. So we'll continue to crochet 2 together at the neckline area, and remember when you're chaining 2 and turning at the neckline, you'll do 2 double crochets together to start that new row. I've done a total of 13 rows of shaping the neckline and I have 2 stitches left. If you want to lower the neckline and make the overall sweater vest longer without making the neck hole bigger, then you can do regular rows with no decreases. When you reach the top of the neckline, you'll chain 1 and cut your yarn to fasten off. Now we will start the other side of the neckline. On the back side of your work, attach your yarn to the corner of this row. To do this, we'll make a slip knot. Insert the crochet hook into the corner stitch. Pull that knot through. Then tighten it and chain 2. Then we will turn our work. We're going to mirror what we did for the other side of the neckline. Because we're starting at the armhole area, we will do double crochet 3 together. Then double crochet for the rest of the row until you reach the neckline. And when you reach the neckline, double crochet 2 together. I finished up the first row, so I'll continue this pattern for 2 more rows. We'll decrease at the armhole, so double crochet 3 together, and decrease at the neckline, double crochet 2 together, and then we will do 13 rows of decreasing only at the neckline. So repeat the same pattern that we did on the other side of the neckline for this side. Here's a preview of what it looks like after 3 rows of decreasing at the neckline and at the armhole. Then repeat the 13 rows of double crochets, remembering to only decrease at the neckline. I finished the right side of the neckline and fastened off the same way we did for the first neckline. And now we're going to shape the back neckline. So if you turn your work over, we're going to repeat the same thing that we did for the front panel. So if you remember, we did a total of 6 rows, 3 before the neckline and 3 after. So for 6 rows, we're going to double crochet 3 together at each end. And after that, I will do regular rows of double crochets along the back. For my sweater vest, I'm going to keep the back straight, but you can choose to do a V-neck back if you desire. To start, we're going to attach our yarn in the 61st stitch where the stitch marker is, or wherever that halfway point was that you marked earlier. Insert the crochet hook. Then after you make a slip knot with the yarn, pull it through. Tighten the strand and then chain 2. To start the row, double crochet 3 together. Then work regular double crochets until you have 3 stitches left before the end of the row. When you reach the last 3 stitches, double crochet 3 together. We'll chain 2, turn our work, and repeat this pattern for 5 more rows of the back armhole. I finished with the back armhole and now we're going to stop decreasing. So for the next 6 rows, we're going to just work regular rows of double crochet until we reach the top of the back neckline, and we want to make sure to leave some extra space for the ribbing. To pick up where we left off, chain 2, turn your work, and do 1 double crochet in each stitch until the end of the row. I reached the end of the row. I'll insert 1 last double crochet. And now to start a new row, we will chain 2 and repeat the same pattern for 5 more rows. Here's a preview after 6 rows of the back panel. At this point, we can start shaping the back neckline, and to do this, we will be doing decrease rows by double crocheting 3 stitches together in the middle. So essentially, we need to make 6 more rows and still end with 2 stitches, the same way we did with the front panel. So since each decrease row will remove 2 stitches, that will be 12 stitches gone by the end. So what that means is we're going to work 11 double crochets and then do a double crochet 3 together. I chain 2 and turn my work. I'm going to work a double crochet in the next 11 stitches. After 11 double crochets, double crochet 3 together. Chain 2 and turn your work. We're going to repeat the same pattern for the next 5 rows. So we'll start by double crocheting 3 together at the neckline and then doing a regular double crochet until the end of the row. Here's a preview of 6 rows of the back of the neckline, and we should have 2 stitches left, and the top of the back panel should line up with the top of the front panel. When you finish, you can fasten off, and we will mirror the same thing on the other side. So we'll attach our yarn to the corner of this row and double crochet 11 stitches, then do 3 double crochets together and repeat the same thing on the right side. I finished fastening off the back panel, and this is what the front looks like and the back. Now we will sew the tops of the shoulders together. First, thread a tail of yarn that we fastened off onto the yarn needle, and we're going to work from the right to the left. Starting on the back panel, we will weave in the needle through the top loops only. So I'm going to pick up this top loop, and over on the front panel, I'm going to go into the top loop there, then pull through. Repeat the same thing by picking up the top loop only in the back panel and weaving it through the next stitch on the front panel. Then we'll tie a knot by going under a loop and wrapping the yarn around the needle and pulling through the circle. Repeat the same steps to sew the shoulder straps on the other side. For this last part of the video, I'll go over how to do the ribbing. But before we start the ribbing, we're going to do a single crochet into the side of each row. This will help us smooth the edges out and give us clean stitches to work into when we're doing our ribbing. To start the single crochet border, we're going to place our crochet hook back in the loop we left along the neckline. We'll attach our yarn back by making a slip knot and pulling this through on our hook, then chain 1. To work a double crochet, we'll insert our crochet hook into the side of the first row, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. We'll repeat the same thing in the next few rows. It might be difficult to see where to insert your crochet hook, but that's okay as long as you just get your hook into one of those spaces and make a single crochet. It will be easier when we're doing the ribbing later. So continue to work single crochets along the border, and when we get to the bottom of the V-neck, we can put a single crochet at that point. After a single crochet at the point, we can work our way up. When we reach the other shoulder seam, we can single crochet over it and continue single crocheting along the back. At the end, we can slip stitch to the first single crochet we started with and fasten off. To start the neckline ribbing, we're going to go up and to the right from the center stitch, the width of the ribbing that we want. I want the ribbing to be 3 stitches wide, so I'm going to count 3 stitches after the middle stitch and attach my yarn there. 1, 2, 3 stitches from the middle point, place your crochet hook, and attach the yarn. If you want your neckline ribbing to be thicker, then you can go up more stitches, or vice versa if you prefer to have a thinner ribbing. After you attach your yarn, chain 1 and work 3 half double crochets across. Then slip stitch to the first stitch on the other side. To start the next row of ribbing, we're going to slip stitch 2 together to get further along the neckline. Insert your hook in the first stitch, pull up a loop, then insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through both loops on the hook. Then turn your work. For this row, we're going to work 3 half double crochets, but in the back loop only. So first, we're going to yarn over, insert the crochet hook, picking up the back loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. We'll do the same thing for the next 2 stitches. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. Repeat doing a half double crochet in the back loops only until the end of the row. After 3 back loop half double crochets, slip stitch to the next stitch along the neckline. Then we'll work a slip stitch 3 together instead of 2. So I'll insert my crochet hook in the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert in the next stitch, pull up a loop, insert in the third stitch, pull up a loop, and pull the first loop through all the loops on the hook. Turn your work and continue to work half double crochets in the back loops only. So continue to repeat the pattern of chain 1, turn your work, then do half double crochets in the back loops only of the stitches, slip stitch to join, then slip stitch 2 or 3 together, and turn to start the next round. You'll repeat this all the way around the neckline until you reach the other end of the ribbing. Once we've gone all the way around, we can fasten off, leaving a tail that's long enough to sew in. Then taking your yarn needle, we'll sew the top of the last row we did with the side of the first row. Here's what my sweater vest looks like, and we're going to repeat the same ribbing pattern for the armholes. First, we'll attach our yarn to the top of the armhole and chain 1, then single crochet along the border of the armhole like we did for the neckline. At the end of the round, slip stitch to close, and then we can start the ribbing. Just like the neckline, I'm going to make the armhole ribbing 3 stitches wide, so I'll chain 4 and the extra chain will just count as the turning chain. Rotate your work and then do a half double crochet in each chain until the end of the row. slip stitch in the next stitch, then slip stitch 2 together. Repeat this pattern all the way around the armhole until you reach the other end. When you make it all the way around, slip stitch into the first stitch and fasten off. Be sure to leave a long tail that we can use for sewing. To sew both ends of the rows together, we'll take a tail of yarn and thread it through the yarn needle. Pick up the top loops only on the front panel and out through the top loop on the back panel. And repeat this for the remaining stitches in the ribbed row. Repeat the same pattern to add ribbing on the second armhole. Finally, for the last part, we can weave in all the loose ends and hide it inside the project. So I'm just weaving that through in a zigzag pattern, and then I'll snip the yarn. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you next time.